All right, peace and blessings, and welcome to another episode of the YB's Collaboration Corner in conjunction with Self-Publishing 30 Days. I'm your host, Rob YB Youngblood. I serve as the president of sales for Self-Publishing 30 Days, the #1 self-publishing company in the world, founded by my guy, Darren Palmer. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing a young lady that I've witnessed her growth over the last 2 years. She's an impressive young lady. You'll get that when you hear her, but Kaisha McCrea is making some major moves in the greater Richmond, Virginia area. She definitely understands the power of collaborations, and she's got a story to tell. So Kaisha, welcome to YB's Collaboration Corner. How are you today?
Excellent. And thank you for having me.
You know what? You and I connected as a result of the Chesterfield Chamber of Commerce, which is here in Central Virginia. For those of you who are not in the Virginia area, you're listening. The Chesterfield Chamber is a viable resource for businesses within the Chesterfield and Central Virginia area, and it serves as advocates for businesses within government, within the community. So Kaisha, before we get into the work that you do, please tell us a little bit about yourself and start with telling us where you're from.
Awesome. Thank you. So a little bit about myself. I am a proud product of the state of South Carolina. So I'm from a small town called Lake City, which is near Florence, South Carolina, and close to Myrtle Beach, maybe an hour away. So mostly everyone has heard of Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
So proud product of the state of South Carolina. I am, my background, I grew up in South Carolina. I'm a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, so I'm a proud Aggie.
Aggie pride,
Aggie pride all the way.
Come on.
My background, I started my career in engineering. So I went to school for engineering, went into corporate America, spent over 20 years in corporate America, starting with engineering, so manufacturing type of jobs, and then transitioned, went back to school for my MBA and transitioned to more commercial type jobs. So the sales, continuous improvement, consulting. And I was introduced to coaching about 10 years ago when I was an internal consultant. And then I started my business about 5 years ago and transitioned from corporate America 2 years ago and went all into my business, Growing Perspectives, career consulting company. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm just excited to be here.
Well, there's a couple of things I love about you and what you do. Number one, just totally floored by the A&T connection. You know, North Carolina A&T is kind of like being in a fraternity where if I see an alpha brother, I do my call and he do his call. But to see the Aggies when they're like Aggie pride, like I love that. My wife has a mentor. Her name is Pam, and Pam is a graduate of North Carolina A&T. And similar to yourself, she worked in corporate for over 20 years, raised a family, but then became a serial entrepreneur along with her husband, who is also an HBCU alum. And so to be able to see that growth and to see people making moves, I love the fact that you found your way into coaching. Talk a little bit about your coaching business. Who do you serve? What's your framework? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Sure. So yes, so Growing Perspectives, my core client base, who I specialize in working with are definitely both the professionals and organizations. On the professional side, I really focus a lot with early and mid-career professionals. And so that can look like on the career coaching side, someone that's looking to grow in their career or someone that's looking to transition. So I have a lot of clients that are transitioning, looking for that next job.
Right.
And COVID, the pandemic, allowed people the time and the opportunity to kind of reflect and say, is this what I want to do for another 5-10 years? So that's one side. And then the other side is organizations that are looking for either leadership coaching for their employees or customized training for their groups around team building and productivity improvement.
Mhm.
So those are the main areas that my business supports. And I want to also share that the leadership coaching applies to business owners. So I have some clients that are business owners. So I'm more of a management consultant for them and bring in the leadership coaching and consulting.
I love that. And you're so clear about who you work with, which is so important, especially when it comes to the creation of social capital, right? So, this concept of leveraging relationships, ideas, information, credibility, to be able to attract the right people. Talk a little bit about what is your definition of collaboration, and tell me about an experience that you had where collaboration created currency for you.
Yeah, so I think I'm not sure when I became more of a collaborator, but that's always been a strength of mine.
Mm.
And I don't know where it started. And I grew up as the only child. I
Mm.
have a younger brother now, and that could have played a part because you have to connect with
Yeah,
people.
you
You
do.
have to make more friends. I think that it started way back then, but I've seen the power of collaborating because I didn't know it all. I still don't know it all. So coming in new to a job, I needed to, okay, understand what's going on, find out about what's happening beforehand. And I've seen collaboration pay off so many times in my career. It's so hard to maybe pinpoint one in particular, but I will call out the collaboration between the two of us.
Mm.
So when I joined the chamber, I was assigned an ambassador, which was you,
Right.
and you did a great job of laying the framework for how to really get connected and engaged. And that caused additional collaboration. So meeting other people that were new, people that were experienced in the chamber, that really sped up my time for really developing relationships
Mhm.
and different, I would say, business work opportunities have resulted as a result of that. I would say collaboration being a part of different platforms like radio shows that came clearly from collaborating.
Mhm.
I didn't know a person said, hey, you should meet Mike, for
Mhm.
example.
Right.
And so it's been wonderful. It allows me to go into places that I wasn't aware of, meet people I've never heard of before,
Yeah.
and really leverage our strengths. And it has turned into financial opportunities and additional connections.
That your story is phenomenal. And for those of you who are listening, I didn't pay her to tell the story about us, right? We didn't talk about that. But what I will say is, when you live this, when it's a part of your DNA, it makes it easy to collaborate because you have credibility, right? And so the one thing that I make sure that I pour into people is, number one, just be a man or a woman of your word, right? So, by being an ambassador, could you imagine if I got the connection and I never followed up with you, right? And so I have an obligation, I have a responsibility to work with a new member, and then I don't do it. So now I lose the credibility, which then prevents us from collaborating, which then we lose opportunities to create currency. And currency in all its purposes is not just money, right? Currency is the ability to leverage and influence, right? So that's currency. Your name is currency, right? There's a gentleman in Richmond, Kaisha, you may have heard of him, but his name is Jim Ucrop, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, I
Jim
think I've heard of him before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a well-known person in Richmond. But I remember working for a nonprofit, and he was the chairman of the board for it, right? And so what would happen was he would have these letters drafted and sent to business professionals throughout the state, and he would just sign on the bottom, Jim. And I heard the story about how people who wouldn't normally give to this organization, because he was connected to it, they decided to give and be a part of it. So that's currency, right? That's currency.
Absolutely.
As we begin to land the plane, Kaisha, talk a little bit about what are some of the goals that you're looking to accomplish in your business, and who would you want to work with or even collaborate with? You know, if they were listening to this podcast, and prayerfully they are, right? But if they were listening to this podcast, who would you want to collaborate with, and what are some of the goals that you're looking to accomplish in the next, next few months or even in the next year?
Absolutely. So people that I would be interested in collaborating with would be coaches. We often serve different markets,
Mhm.
and we often can collaborate and support each other in different places that one of us doesn't support today. So I would say other coaches related to careers, related to leadership, because it's a large pie. So we can support each other that way. I would also be interested in being connected with other organizations that are looking to further strengthen their teams and their organization with leadership and team building. So those are great connections. And often, like I mentioned, a target audience and client base for me are people that are looking to change, people that are questioning, is this what I want to do in the future? Or people that are just having some challenges and they could use some additional support. So I'm open to those connections so that they can reach their goals and be successful in their careers.
I love that. I love that. So how can people find you, Kaisha? And your name is very unique. So they'll be able to see that when the flyer comes out and everything like that. But how can people find you if they have an interest in what you do? They may be in transition, they may be an author that's looking for a way to, maybe shift gears in their career, or they may be, a recent graduate. As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of my fraternity brothers just this morning, and he's somebody that I believe should be connected to you. He should know you, right? So how can people find you if they value what you shared on this episode and they want to get connected to you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn. So simply Kaisha McCrea, or you can also find my business name, Growing Perspectives Career Consulting. So Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And you can message me any of those places. And then my business website is www.growingperspectives.com.
Love it. I love it. Just a few more questions and we'll wrap up. So Kaisha, I represent the #1 self-publishing company in the world. We talked about, you got a book on the inside of you, but let's say when you're ready to put that book together, if you can go anywhere in the world to write your first book, and my team and I were paying for it.
Yes.
Right? Where would you go?
Aruba.
Aruba. Okay. Have you ever been?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to going back.
That's
I've only
right.
gone once. It was beautiful, perfect weather, wonderful people.
I love it. Yeah. I've had people say Africa, and I say, what part of Africa? They said, just drop me off anywhere on the continent.
Yes.
Right?
That was my second choice.
Okay.
I made the decision between the two.
I got it. Lastly, what are some of your lasting thoughts? Anything that you want to share as we wrap up that the audience may not know about you, or anything that you want to share as it pertains to collaboration and how it creates currency?
Sure. I would say my last thoughts are collaboration looks different for everyone. And you can start with baby steps. And I've done that in different spaces. So I would encourage anyone who's starting out and it doesn't feel like a natural thing for you, just try it and try it at a pace that works for you. And I still do that today. It depends. You will click, and I click with different people in different ways, but don't underestimate that relationship and nurture it. It's easier, and someone told me this earlier in my career, it's easier to stay in touch with people than to call them a year, 2 years later and try to reintroduce yourself to them.
That's right.
Put the time in and it works both ways. You know, you're a giver, you're not just a taker. It works both ways. And I've really enjoyed being able to collaborate with others in my career, and I see the benefit, and I see the benefit of helping others. So it's paid forward tremendously for me.
Well, I'm extremely proud of you, Kaisha. You have hit the ground running, and you are making moves. You're a perfect example of how collaboration creates currency. And I'm so grateful that you've invested the time to be with me today. For those of you who are listening, remember that Self-Publishing 30 Days is here. For those of you who are aspiring entrepreneurs, you have a desire to tell your story, but you just don't know where to go and how to do it. Self-Publishing 30 Days has helped over 1,000 authors to become self-published. Our own chief book officer has 10 of his own books that he's done. So we know how to help you go from point A to point B and how to monetize your book. So feel free to visit us at self-published30days.com. Tell us that you heard about us through YB's Collaboration Corner, and make sure you give a shout out to Kaisha, and let Kaisha know how much this podcast has meant to you. Make sure you like, follow, click, and share so that we can continue to get fabulous reviews. And listen, make sure you join us for the next episode of YB's Collaboration Corner here at Self-Publishing 30 Days. Be encouraged, be blessed, but most of all, be faithful over the gift that you've been given, because your gift will make room for you. We'll see you soon. Blessings.